Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Vendavo Revenue Roundtable. Today, I'm very excited to have a couple of really powerful figures in pricing join me. First off is Ben Blaney. He leads our business consulting group here at Vendavo. He's been at the intersection of technology and commercial excellence for quite a while. He has firsthand experience at 3 of the top 4 software offerings in the marketplace. Hey, Ben, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Mitch.
And also with us is Jason Covitz. Now, Jason has held several senior leadership positions. Most recently, he's been VP of Business and Analytics at Strategy at Safelite. That's covering analytics, of course, but pricing guidance, people and processes, improving customer win rates, pricing and terms, overall profitability. In calendar year 19, he saw the EBITDA impact improve over $94 million in 1 year. Before that, he was at Cardinal Health. He helped lead profitability growth of over 30% across the medical services portfolio business. Before that, he was at First Data, where he established a business revenue management practice with pricing guidance and establishing decision processes necessary to improve win rates and profitability. He saw annual EBITDA impact improvements of over $95 million. Again, incredible benefits drop to the bottom line, and lots of other experiences at Capital One, TI, HP, and LexisNexis. Jason, thanks very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
So first, I want to turn to Ben. Ben, we were talking just a little while ago about the differences between Vendavo and some of the other pricing commercial excellence vendors out there in the marketplace. What do you see as a differentiation for Vendavo in the marketplace right now?
Yeah, sure, Mitch. I think, for me, it's a three-legged stool, okay? And that we have all those three critical elements. Without any of them, the stool falls over, doesn't it? The three elements are price, structure, administration, strategy, okay? That's one. Another is pricing guidance, segmentation optimization. And a third is CPQ, delivering pricing, product selection to salespeople. Now, all those three things are wrapped in an analytic engine, okay, surfaced in all of them whenever you need them. Now, there are a couple of kind of points in each of these areas that I think are worth touching on. So in price management, I think, in my view, I'm strongly interested in channel management. And I think we are the only folks who have a really good solution for managing a multi-channel environment, understanding how you proliferate pricing into the different channels in different geographies while maintaining good, better, best continuums and quantity tiers and all those other things that matter. We have a fabulous solution for that, and I haven't seen anything close to that. Everyone wants to use competitor data, and I think we have a really powerful competitive analysis capability, including the ability to scrape competitors' public data, which is often the missing piece there. So that's price management. I think in segmentation and optimization, we're the only people to expose as much as we do, meaning it is a clear box, not a black box. You see that a lot. No one wants a black box. We have a clear box. For example, we expose a visual of the segmentation tree. It's hard to do. It's hard to understand. It's hard to visualize, and we've nailed it. And we drive kind of capability into the user, the super user's hands, to supervise the AI, to say, I don't like it like that. These two business units need to come together. I want to think of these two geographies definitely separately, even though the AI says they're different. For business reasons, they're the same, so I want to put them together. Right? You get the idea. And then in CPQ, I think, we have this multi-platform capability. It's one CPQ, which we can surface in a CRM. We've got partnerships with all the major CRM vendors, but also direct access to our CPQ. That's because customers don't want to pay for CRM licenses for people who wouldn't otherwise be using the CRM. So you need to be able to surface your CPQ outside of CRM. Plus, then go back to that channel world. Surfacing the CPQ, the product selection, receiving agreement type pricing in the partner community. So partner portal logins, where the distributors or the resellers can come in and log in and say, okay, here's some things. Does that work with that thing? Is that linked to that? What's my price for those things? Click, place an order. Here's a PO number, whatever it might be. And then, the final piece that's come out in this pandemic is extending that to direct to customer portals, right? So exposing this still one CPQ serving all these different user persona, exposing that publicly if the customer wants to allow the end user to organize and understand configurations and availability and inventory. It's fabulous.
Absolutely, man. And those are true capabilities around pricing and price management and getting that information in a controlled, aligned manner out to your sales team so that you're always doing what you intended to do and you measure it to bring that back. But we're really more than just the software, right? If there's technology, and you mentioned it yourself just a moment ago, there's the people and then the process knowledge that comes with that, right?
That's right. I think, it is more than just the technology. And what nobody wants in this sort of category of enterprise software is to invest in some software and have the vendor install it and then say, great, see you later. We'll be in touch when we want to sell you something else or renew your contract. That's not going to work. That's, yesterday's way of doing business. So we have an approach which begins in pre-sales where we are creating the business case that is real. I'm sure Jason's going to talk about this in just a few minutes. We've seen his record of success in these different companies. But in pre-sales, we're creating a business case that's real and achievable. We're finding the appropriate product set. You won't find us loading a bill of materials with, stuff that people don't want, a bundle involving 3 different things just to get the one piece of capability they don't want. We have no interest in that. Then I think we extend through the implementation project. We've got terrific people, veterans, seasoned pricing professionals who understand the market and understand what's going to be done. All of them certified in change management, because that's a big piece. If you don't have change management driving these new ways of doing things, the project has lower chances of success. And then the follow-up is we drive value consulting, value calculation methodology post-sale on a rigorous cadence, quarterly cadence, measuring value, communicating value back, having it, assessed by somebody on the customer side to say, yes, we agree that Vendavo drove these benefits, and then enabling our customers to kind of publicize their successes to say to the broader organization, look, here's what we're achieving in pricing, and it's all hard numbers, verified and mutually agreed.
Absolutely. And with that set of capabilities, with that set of ongoing engagement, the partnership, let's say, for profitability over the long term, that's really now to you, Jason. Why should people care about improving their process? Why should they be concerned about having these capabilities, buying this set of solutions? What's in it for a actual user? So can you talk about your experience working with Vendavo a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. I've dealt with Vendavo and the other pricing software organizations for the past 10 to 12 years of my career. I've gone through several pricing evaluations, implementation projects, and I've even had to deal with software that I'd had installed before I'd gotten there. And obviously evaluating the capability is critical, right? You've got to make sure you've got the optimization, you've got to have the measurement, et cetera. But what people often forget about is it's about the people you're dealing with, right? The pre-sales teams, like Ben mentioned, the business consulting, the service, the leadership. I've got some examples we'll probably talk about as we get into this. But you're also having to make sure it's really easy for the teams that you work with, right? You're working with finance teams, sales teams, marketing teams, and it's got to be easy to use, right? Everyone's heard about the infamous black box. If they don't understand it, they are not going to believe it, and they are not going to put it in front of a customer. And then that, basically kills your initiative. So you've got to make sure it's really easy, and that people and process, even on the business side, I've seen tens of millions of dollars of improvement just by putting that initial people and process in place. And then the software really brings it all together, right? It really brings it home with the people across your organization and really lets you take it up a level, right? Things like optimization, you can't do optimization by hand. you need something like Vendavo to make that work. So it really is that combination of people, process, and tools that really brings it all together and makes you successful as a pricing individual.
You mentioned some pretty big numbers there when we were doing the benefits you've actually delivered. Those are some big numbers. Are those real benefits that you saw that you delivered for your organizations?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, Mitch, that I've been a big believer in is measuring everything. I'm usually working closely with the finance teams and the sales teams in these organizations. And what you've got to do is you've got to write down and get into a level of agreement on, hey, here's what that impact is. So when price is here and price goes to here, I'm going to measure the difference. But you also measure the downside, right? When I lose business because I took price up, I've got to measure that too. So it's a give and take conversation. And what I find is really interesting as you go through business case conversations, the Vendavo team, I've worked with them and I've worked with others on building out business cases. They'll be like, you're gonna drive $100 million, $200 million, right? And people are like, that's crazy. And so what you're trying to do is actually thread the needle, because I did one business case at one organization I was at, and the number we had was $20 million that we put in the business case. And it was still a great return at that number, $20 million of impact. And my finance team internally said, man, there's no way you guys are going to get that. And then on the Vendavo side, they're like, you guys completely, that's a layup. Like, you undersold it completely. So you have to balance those. And what I have found is whatever you put in the business case, you far and exceed. And I've seen that, at my last 3 stops for sure. It's really about driving the impact. And obviously getting the people, process, tools wrapped together. That's what makes that impact happen.
Yeah, so it's setting those expectations. It's a widely reported benefit number range. People have been talking about pricing and its benefits 30 years now. You can look at old HBR articles from last century about these kind of numbers. And people still have a hard time believing it when it's sitting in their budget, sitting in their objectives. But you've done it multiple times. Jason, a follow-up with you. How about, can you talk a little bit about your experience with the people side?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to Ben's point about, you're obviously buying software and you're buying capability, but the people that are working with you is even more critical. I had one example. We actually had a pros installation, and it was selected before I'd gotten there. The team hadn't really understood how to set up the segmentation. So the pros team just dropped it in and basically said, yep, good. And they got somebody to sign off on it. And that was the end of the conversation. So, as I was walking in, we kind of started to relook at everything, and it didn't make sense. Like, you looked at a segmentation, and you're like, well, why is that priced a lot higher or less? And again, having done a lot of pricing and having worked through a lot of these segmentation models, I'm old enough, unfortunately, where I did a lot of them by hand back in the day. So I'm glad that you could actually, have a capability now. And the answer I got from a pricing scientist, right, a guy with a PhD, was, I don't understand it either, but the math is the math. Just tell the sales team that's the right answer. And anybody that's worked with a sales team, like, that is not a successful conversation. So you have to understand it, and you have to be able to trust your partners through this exercise. So your software partners, you have to be able to build trust with your team, because your finance, your sales, your executive team in the organization you're within, they trust you. So if you can't trust the people you're working with, you're just not going to be able to generate that level of trust across the organization. And that's again, just as important as the capabilities.
Sure, you can't burn that political capital saying, oh, just trust and trust and trust until you actually deliver some. So compare that maybe with your experience with Vendavo efforts.
Completely different. As we were thinking about segmentation and optimization for a recent B2C conversation, a channel actually, Vendavo actually flew their top pricing scientist out to see us. Right? He got on the phone with us. He's like, look, I'm just going to come see you. I'll clear my schedule. I'll find it out. And so don't everybody ask for the same guy, because he's one guy. But great conversation. And he was able to do a workshop. We did a 2 or 3 hour workshop. Actually, it might have been longer than that. It might have been 4 hours. And he was using examples from the business. It wasn't just a math exercise. It was really incredible.
Hmm.
And I actually had non-pricers. We had salespeople in the room, we had finance people in the room, we had non-pricing people in the room, and they were the one that walked out and said, he completely understood our business. Just got introduced to it, a couple of days before, completely understood our business, how to address our challenges. We need to go with Vendavo. It's not even a conversation. So, again, you contrast that with the, hey, I don't understand it, the math's the math, to a, hey, I just sat through a 4-hour optimization conversation, was excited about it, and now I know we're going to go with this team. It's night and day.
Yeah, having that business expertise is critical. Having that familiarity. Ben, tell us a little bit about why that's important for Vendavo.
Well, because it's about adoption, isn't it? The best software in the world is going nowhere unless it gets adopted by the users. And so there are a number of pieces of that, and I'll kind of tease out some of them here. So one is the concepts and the way we think about optimization, and the way it's something that, as Jason says, a non-pricer can absorb and may even replay. One of the things we advise folks to do as they go through this process, part of the change management, is you need to develop evangelists for this. You can't bring all of your salespeople into those optimization workshops. So you bring someone in, and my advice is you bring in a super excitable, positive, happy kind of, cheerleader type, but also bring in the gnarliest, most skeptical, sarcastic. Bring someone in who's going to, bang the desk and say, I'm not on board.
You kids get off my pricing porch.
That's right. Okay. Now, here's what happens is when you have pricing optimization concepts that are able to be expressed in things that everybody understands, easy to draw diagrams. If I can convince both of those two sales personas, yeah, absolutely, that makes perfect sense. It doesn't violate my knowledge of Econ 101. And what you want is for those people to go back to their peers in the sales organization and say, hey, I totally get it. Here's how it works. Here's what it means. I'm on board. And by the way, just so you know, this isn't some outside firm forcing this on us. Our people, our eggheads, our boffins are in charge. They're supervising these models, finding things that they don't, hey, listen, the business reality is I want to do it like this. And so I've got now faith in the team who are supervising this AI. And so those things for me are what deliver. And then in the user interface for those people, it's the information they need without the information they don't, and easy access, a single click to say, oh, let me check into that. Click, pops up whatever it might be, a scatter plot of, deal size and discount and, a dot for every sold to, whatever it might be, whatever is appropriate. And they go, actually, yeah, no, I'm good. That's fine. Good. I'll take that. Submit. That's giving them the information they need, giving them the comfort that this is the right decision.
Absolutely. That stiffens the spine for everyone across every step of the way. Guys, this has been fantastic. Jason, I really appreciate your insights. We always love chatting with you, always love to have a conversation with you. Ben, good to see you again as usual. We'll be reaching out to you again, I'm sure, for further conversations. But for everyone tuning in for this edition of Revenue Roundtable, thanks for joining us today. Jason, Ben, thanks again, and everyone have a profitable day.